Welcome to Walking with Jesus Bible Study. We're going to be in the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 8, verses 8 and 9. Verse 8. But meat commendeth us not to God. For neither, if we eat, are we the better, neither, if we eat not, are we the worse. Verse 9. But take heed, lest by any means this liberty of yours become a stumbling block to them that are weak. Now I'm going to repeat those. Verse 8. But meat commendeth us not to God. For neither, if we eat, are we the better, neither, if we eat not, are we the worse. Verse 9. But take heed, lest by any means this liberty of yours become a stumbling block to them that are weak. Paul is addressing eating meat offered to idols. He says the meat itself is just meat and not good or evil, and that if we eat it, it's just meat. It is not wrong. But if we do so, we will hurt the consequences of other believers and become a stumbling block to their faith. And that is to use our liberty selfishly instead of the walk of love towards the others. He's saying that it's just meat. That it shouldn't matter, because at the time, people were saying, oh no, now you're eating meat that is of other gods. And though it does say in some scriptures that people could say that he is contradicting another verse, because it says that God says you should not eat meat that was sacrificed to other gods. Now God clearly says that in past scriptures. And so here you got Paul saying something completely different. He said it's just meat. Now a lot of people can take this and twist it to their own meaning and to their own version. But I think what Paul is doing here is saying it on a different kind of another level. And by saying that, I think he's replying to that, who cares that it was offered to another God, because there is no other God but God. So therefore, you're just eating meat. Doesn't matter that it was a sacrifice to another God. Since other gods in his mind does not exist and that they do not matter, that there is only one true God, then it doesn't matter to eat that meat, because since those gods do not exist, that is just meat. But since there's people who don't understand his level of talking or understanding, they're going to take it offense. So then he goes, so that's why he's saying in verse 9, you don't want to offend the other people, so just don't do it, so to speak, because they're not going to be able to understand. And to argue with them is just nonsense. That you don't have the time or whatever, basically is he's summing it into, like, just don't do it if you think it's going to offend other people, that we're supposed to do things in love. So therefore, we know that it is going to offend somebody, why even bother doing it, whether it's right or wrong? Paul actually says that in a lot of his letters when it comes to doing things that are so-called right and so-called wrong. So if it's going to cause those unbelievers or those believers to be sad or to be hurt or to be offended, do not do that. He says it a few times in his scriptures. Because we're all supposed to be doing things in love. And that's what it means to also be the bigger and better person. Whether we believe we're right or wrong or whatever, sometimes it is just best to walk away from a fool. If they're going to be that foolish and not going to be able to understand or to even try to listen, why even bother? Yes, we're supposed to correct some people if we see something that is just not right. But sometimes we don't need to correct every single little thing. We don't need to argue with every single little thing. Only if it's something that's going to leave somebody to sin, and it's very, very important, then yes, we should step in and try to show people the correct way. That's why there is a need of correction, because there's a lot of people spreading false information. People are then going to begin to follow that and to believe that, and it's going to mislead them and it's going to misguide them. And we can't sit back and watch them jump off that cliff. We got to shine our light and tell them which way to go. But you see here, Paul does this lovingly. He politely just says, if it's going to make them sad, don't bother with it. Just leave it all together and just walk away. Just, try not to offend nobody. Use your manners. Be adequate. Leave it alone, knowing that you know better, and knowing that they're not going to understand it. There's no need to do the argument. And instead of trying to explain yourself and trying to put up a fight and sit there and argue with foolishness, just don't offend them. Just walk away, basically. This is what he's trying to tell people to do. Sometimes we can't always walk away. Sometimes we may have just made a simple statement and didn't know that we was put into a trap. It gets taken and just goes out of whirlwind, straight out of our control. And we can't help, and here we are now in the middle of an argument, and you're not even trying to argue, but the person is just now nagging and egging it on, and you could be trying to get out, and then so now you're trying to say that you have to justify yourself. And we got to remember, we don't have to prove anything to anybody. The only person that we have to answer to is God. So if we see that we're just going down a rabbit hole that doesn't belong to a rabbit, that we need to climb on up and just leave, we just got to. Sometimes you just got to, leave things unsaid. You don't have to constantly prove you're right. You don't have to keep at it. You're just going to have to just climb on out of that hole and let them stay in that pit. Because that's exactly what it is. It's just a pit. It's a snare. It's a trap that the devil is trying to trick you in so that you can sit there and be in an argument for no reason. Get your emotions all riled up and trying to make you lose your character. If we feel that we're going to have to, at any point, that we feel our emotions going from point A to point Z, then maybe it's best not to be in that conversation anymore. Because if we can't do anything in love, even when it's being corrected, then we shouldn't be doing it. So anytime we feel that changing, we know that is a sign that, let's just walk away. God bless. Have a good day, and just leave it. You don't always have to prove, you don't have to finish it out just because you was right and make sure that everybody knew you was right. Sometimes you're just going to have to just leave it off like that. Because eventually the truth will come out. And it may not be that you're the one who gets to tell them. It could be somewhere else, somewhere down the line. But just because you didn't get to see the ending part of that, just know that that person is going to be put in that situation again, and just how extra foolish he's going to feel that over time and time again he was told this and he refused to listen.